Hey there, I'm Pete Townsend, and this is Money Never Sleeps. We look inside the minds of entrepreneurs and at the crossover of startups, enterprise, finance, technology, and life as we know it. This episode of Money Never Sleeps is sponsored by Philip Lee, one of Ireland's fastest growing corporate law firms and expert advisors at the heart of the Dublin and London startup, fintech, and crypto communities. This week, Eoin, Fitzgerald, and I returned from a 2-week hiatus to take a look at what's driving Ramp forward so quickly with their latest fundraising round at a valuation of over $8 billion. The JP deal for Irish fintech global shares, and we dig into some of the story behind ApeCoin, Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs, and Yuga Labs, all right here on Money Never Sleeps. Hey, Eoin.
Hey, Pete.
How you doing?
Good. Busy.
Good. Yeah, me too. A bit of a hiatus the last 2 weeks, haven't we had?
I know. Flat out. Well, you're flat out. You're more flat out than me. I've had, aside from work, I've had like... or not even COVID, but just sick kids and coughs and colds and the usual rubbish. So
yeah,
laying low.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, I had the big trip to New York, and that made it quite difficult to do anything other than what I was doing that week.
I think our two options were 6:30 one morning and 10:00 one night, weren't they?
Exactly. Yeah. And then I was just stupidly trying to surf the jet lag and stay on Irish time while being in New York and trying to do everything in New York, and it didn't work. Don't ever try that. I think it was Bono who said, yeah, I just surfed the jet lag, but he's a rock star. In
private planes and all that. So.
Yeah, exactly. And then last week with St. Patrick's Day and getting that extra nice little holiday thrown into our week by the Irish government was fantastic.
It was lovely.
And, we took off to the west and went to Barna and Galway.
Oh, brilliant.
Time. Shout out to Dave Cunningham from Barna, who I unfortunately didn't get to see, even though he was very kind and got me a table at a lovely Indian restaurant called Spiced. And but he had, as you might imagine, this little pandemic thing that's still going around.
Yeah.
So, but he's better now, so he's in good shape. But
stuff.
Yeah, great to at least be, DMing him on Twitter while I was, probably 100 meters away from his house, which was pretty fun. But
nice.
Yeah, listen, you picked up on a couple of things that you thought we should chat through.
Yeah, there was
this fine day.
Do you know what? There was two announcements back to back on the 21st and the 22nd. I suppose the first one made bigger noise. This was Ramp, which is tell you how to describe themselves, corporate management. So they launched out of stealth in February 2020 with a corporate card offering. Now they reached unicorn status after less than a year. They did a 115 million round, when they launched, and they raised 300 million at a 3.9 valuation last August, and then they just closed 200 million round this week that doubles their valuation to 8.1 billion. So that's 550 million in debt and 200 in equity. 8.1 billion. This, I mean, you and I are kind of both somewhat aware of them because there was a big announcement last year when Stripe went into their early rounds, and it seemed like an interesting move for Stripe. I mean, Founders Fund have led all of their investment rounds, which is quite unusual for a VC to lead every single round. But obviously, they're very keen to back what Keith Raboy, who heads up Founders Fund, he says, exceptional founders. That's what he calls them. So this is a really interesting one because Packy McCormick actually wrote up on them this week on his Not Boring newsletter, which I kind of follow avidly every week. And he compared them to Google and Google Search, which was an interesting kind of analogy. And he ultimately was making the case that they could be bigger than Google, which obviously is quite a proclamation. But the point he was making, and it's what we've talked about loads of times with Stripe and even Shopify, is that they're enabling others to build on top of them. So they're growing with their customers, and that's the big opportunity here because they've about 5,000 customers. They're doing over 5 billion in annualized payments. But not only that, only in the last couple of weeks and months this year, they've announced 2 new products, which is a travel kind of solution, and then the other one is a bill pay solution. So they've built mini apps into their platform, which companies can start using. So ultimately, they want to be a kind of all-in finance solution for companies.
You know what you call building on top of letting others build on top of your platform in Web3?
What?
You call that composability.
Oh, right? Okay. Yes, I've seen that term actually. Chris Dixon wrote something about it recently.
And Lego blocks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The Lego blocks of DeFi. So it's fascinating that this is happening in Web2 as well.
Yeah, and like it's a busy space. Like Brex, we've mentioned Brex before. They were the kind of corporate card start solution for startups. They raised 300 million at a 12 billion valuation back in January. And then the other one, that was on the 21st, was the ramp announcement. Then the second one was on the 22nd, and this was a company called Jeeves, which raised 180 million at a 2.1 billion valuation. So again, Jeeves does an all-in-one corporate card and expense management platform for global startups. They only launched in March 2021.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they went through YC only in summer 2020. So, I mean, they're saying that they have about 3,000 clients and they're doing about 1.3 billion of transaction volumes.
Yeah, I had some deep thoughts in going through this one, in that, and immediately with Ramp, when you think corporate credit cards and, you think the biggest player in the US, Brex, as you mentioned, that they were first to market on this. Yeah. But there's something about, well, a company that started in 2019 at the eve of the pandemic and building on 2019's tech stack instead of 2014's tech stack.
Yeah.
Right. And that you can actually just move quicker because so much more of that technology of your stack is not that it's open source in Web 2 like it is in Web 3. Yeah. Some of it may be, but there is so much more that is just being reused and building on top of what others have already built. Whether you have to pay them something for that or not varies, obviously. So you could just move so much quicker on the tech side. I saw that they bought Buyer, negotiation as a service.
Yep.
And what do you think negotiation as a service is for trying to get all of your SaaS done through one route? Is that
subscription
a revenue bundle, perhaps?
It's also known as a rundle, Pete.
Yes, it is. Thank you. So I saw that, doing their automated bill payments, the travel service, right? And packaging that up. It's insight and control and being able to book travel, but also then see all the expenses realized from all of that. And I saw that really cool WhatsApp engagement where you get a notification that, hey, we saw your receipt. We've uploaded that. Please just give it a classification. Oh, that was a team dinner. Great. It's in. And you're totally expenses all classified.
It's brilliant.
How long did it take Revolut to get to the point where they were doing travel, right? And that's kind of thinking about building on 2014's tech stack versus building on 2019's tech stack, but also Revolut obviously coming at it from a different angle of retail customer driven growth rather than corporate growth. And now with what Ramp are doing, was it tens of millions for even one Ramp customer that are spending on their credit cards per month? So they've just scaled completely way past startup land, which is what Brex are doing, and they've gone completely into midsize and larger corporates as well.
Yeah, they're saying their software has automated over 3.5 million hours of work for businesses.
Yeah, and the founders Eric Lyman and Kareem Attia, it's their second go round.
Yep.
They sold the online price tracker Paribas, which I thought was someone botching Paribas, French bank, or BNP Paribas, but they sold that to Capital.
So like it was a big one. Obviously, it won't make as much noise necessarily over this side of the world, but it's more that it's yet another example of a company like Stripe, like a Shopify, building that infrastructure piece and actually allowing the companies then to scale on top of it and providing more and more functionality. Like they want to be an end-to-end kind of CFO suite of products. And you can see how valuable that would be.
I saw that, It's exactly what I thought. I was trying to compare it to Brex, and Brex have the business accounts now as well, and I didn't see much difference. But again, just being able to build on 2019's tech stack, and that it used to be, I used to say, someone starting on 2012, 2013, 2014's tech stack out there available to tech companies versus those building in 2003, 2002. Are night and day. But even now, with how quickly things are moving, 2016 to 2019 is night and day. And that's only 3 years.
And there's probably some comparison between the likes of Ramp versus Brex with like Sterling and Revolut. Sterling going down the business side of it and focusing on business solutions and then kind of reversing onto the consumer side. Versus Revolut, who was chasing the high growth to consumer, lower volume sort of stuff. You could see the difference because you could see obviously how Ramp can roll out obviously infrastructure solutions then. And I, like a lot of their I suppose their focus and a lot of the stuff that makes a name for them is the speed at which they can roll out new products.
Yep.
Yeah, look, I just thought it was a really interesting one, especially in light of 2 announcements back to back of large funding rounds and valuations in the same space.
I mean, one thing that I heard on a podcast the other morning that I keep saying over the last few days, that there's no shortage of capital out there right now. It's a shortage of trust. Right. And that these mega rounds are happening. People are getting all this money. Why? Because they're trusted founders.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's
trusted businesses with and whether that be early stage or whether that be later stage, like these, it's been unprecedented. But building that trust is critical. I've been saying that over the last few days since I heard that quote, is that you got to, as an early stage startup, you got to start early in building that trust with investors. Investors invest in lines, not dots.
Yeah.
It's not that first interaction that they'll get very excited about. That first interaction that a big later stage, private equity fund may have with a ramp or a Brex or someone raising, a few $100 million. Yeah, that might be a one meeting. Yeah, we're in. Right. But when it's early stage, it can take a period of months before you get a term sheet. Hey everyone, this is Pete. Let me tell you about the folks at Philip Lee. A few years ago, I was at my first venture capital industry dinner in Dublin, and honestly, I felt a bit lost. I bumped into Andrew Tizali, one of the partners at Philip Lee. He bought me a pint and introduced me to the team, and they took me under their wing. That take you under their wing approach has been what I've heard consistently from fintech and crypto startups who I know have worked with Philip Lee in Dublin and London to help them wrap the right legal framework around their business, fundraising, and regulatory needs. And I can't recommend them enough. Get in touch with the team at philiplee.ie or on moneyneversleeps.ie/philiplee to learn more.
What about you? You spot anything on your side?
Yeah, the ApeCoin. So there was some really interesting developments in Bored Ape Yacht Club, CryptoPunks, and Yuga Labs. So Bored Ape Yacht Club and CryptoPunks would be the two probably most popular NFT series out there. But Bored Ape Yacht Club have taken it a lot further. They have also the Mutant Ape Yacht Club, where if you combine a certain kind of token with your NFT, that your ape changes shape, it mutates, right, into something else. Okay, and these are dynamic NFTs that can change with certain factors introduced. What Bored Ape Yacht Club have done really well is building a community around their NFTs. And that when I say community, I mean people who are proud to hold them, people that will show them to people on their phone, people that will display a Bored Ape as their profile picture on Twitter, like a number of friends that I have that I've seen do that recently. I actually even saw a guy that actually had his real face, but he had it contorted in such a way on his picture to make it look like a Bored Ape, right, on his profile picture. So it's like, there's just so much of this going around in Bored Ape. Obviously, the valuation of the NFTs are through the roof. CryptoPunks were one of the first most popular ones that really were the beginnings of NFT summer last year. And those are highly pixelated images, but there is a certain cult favorite around them. Bored Ape Yacht Club even gone so far as to say we're opening up an actual Bored Ape Yacht Club. I heard it referred to just today as a swamp club, and that where these NFTs actually act as an access card for you to get into in real life clubs. I think they're building one in Miami. So building this whole community ethos around this, the Bored Ape Yacht Club, which was brought to market by Yuga Labs, have been really, really good with that. CryptoPunks, not so much. So Yuga Labs bought the rights to CryptoPunks and are bringing that into the Bored Ape family to build more of a community around that is what I expect the play is. Now, what also happened just in the last, in the last week or so, the news about ApeCoin really started making some waves. And ApeCoin, you would think, are a cryptocurrency that are related to the Bored Ape Yacht Club, but it is in fact not. Or at least officially not. And here's the drill. Here's how it works. If the Bored Ape Yacht Club as an NFT were to say to holders of that NFT that you now get this ape coin, then that NFT might be deemed a security, and to say that you are almost in effect getting a dividend, right? So let's not go there. Let's not do that. Let's not try to classify this NFT as a security. Let's set up ApeCoin as a separate DAO or decentralized autonomous organization that has an allocation of whatever is raised through ApeCoin, through the token sale, has an allocation that would go back to Yuga Labs. And they also have a board of advisors with some excellent names in there, of really experienced people in this space that also would receive part of the token allocation. So there's a lot of buzz out there in the last week about ApeCoin and what was going on with that. And there was some significant price movement over that over the last few days, but it stabilized. But it's just a bellwether of how far these virtual communities are going. And this is thousands of people that are involved in this space.
Yeah.
And it comes back to people like to collect things. And that's it. It's that, when you collect stuff, is it something that you put up on a shelf? And when friends come in that you can show them and point to that, look, I have that. Or is it something that you can show them on your phone or display as your profile pic on Twitter? I don't know where this NFT cycle is going to go, but I think that it's more on the basis of not these, flat, static images that you can own and hold in your phone. And yes, that is the original cryptographically secured version of that just you own. But it's going to be, I think, these more dynamic ones where, and I've talked about before, the baseball card that you have as a collectible in your wallet, where when the Red Sox win, Trevor Story, who's the new second baseman for the Boston Red Sox, signed from the Colorado Rockies just in the last week, that when they win, the picture of Trevor Story, his arms go up in the air like, yay, we won. And then when they lose the next game, the NFT goes back to the regular state. Right. So there's so much happening in this space and it is just moving so quickly. Trying to keep pace with it is ridiculous. You just need to be able to know enough that when you get into a conversation with a founder or an investor that you can hold you can fight your corner. You can hold your weight with them, hold your own. Thank you. Yes. Hold your own. But no, that was a, CoinDesk.
Did I not see? I did. I saw some of that. I saw some information on that. And then I separately saw, was it Vitalik? I can't remember his second name, or I can't pronounce his second name. The founder of Ethereum.
You can just call him Vitalik. Yeah.
Oh yeah, people know what that is. What did he say? The Bored Ape Yacht Club and all that is a waste of time. That's not what he created Ethereum for.
Too bad, buddy. You create a network that is a public network that people can build on. It's like, okay, sorry, you opened up a public plot of land in a city and you made these allotments to say anybody can just go buy an allotment and plant whatever vegetables they want. If you don't like parsnips, sorry, you can't say don't grow those parsnips. If you're the city, that's terrible.
I was going to say I had two more stories because I know we're both rushing between things today. One was obviously a shout out to the Global Shares team. They got acquired by JP or that deal was announced anyway this week. About $750 million ish. I don't think the exact amount has been made public, but huge, obviously. And different reporting around it. Obviously, Charlie Taylor in the Irish Times had some really good reporting on it.
The angle for me was really interesting. So Motive Partners were a private equity investor in that. And Motive Partners are also invested in by ISIF, which is the Irish Strategic Investment Fund. Yep. And this was the double bottom line impact that I was trying to orchestrate for a private equity fund a few years ago, where you bring in a private equity fund into Ireland, they make investments in Irish companies, but also then the Irish state invest in that private equity fund. And you get that double bottom line impact for the Irish coffers, right? And this one really worked. And I remember when Motive were invested in by the Irish Strategic Investment Fund back a few years ago when I was exploring this strategy. So it's awesome to see it all come to light and saying, yes, it does actually work. So, and the great thing is, I think somebody's comment in the article that Charlie Taylor wrote was that, this is real cause for celebration for the local region, the opportunity to work for a company such as JP while still being able to live in West Cork, where my family hail from in the 1840s, is what dreams are made of. And I'm like, yeah, go on, West Cork.
So big shout out obviously to the team there. That was a great announcement. And the last one, I know we're running out of time, was just actually announced this morning, which was Apple acquiring Credit Kudos in the UK, which is an open banking startup. Helps lenders make better decisions. So it was only announced earlier this week. Values at about 150 million, which is up significantly from, I think they did a 5 million round in 2020 was the last kind of investment round. So now, obviously, what do? They offer insights and scores from bank data using the open banking APIs, and then obviously lenders can make better decisions around that. Really interesting to see what that means or what Apple have in mind for it. Wouldn't have had them top of your list in terms of acquiring somebody like that. So, be an interesting one.
Well, no,
maybe it ties into Apple Card.
I think the conversation from a few years ago is, will these big tech players become banks? I think that is just gone by the boards. I don't think they ever will become banks, but will they offer some level of embedded finance? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they already are doing that. And that it's credit kudos and open banking. Once you start giving big tech platforms access to live banking data on a third-party basis, what they're able to do with it is not times 10, but times 100 compared to the bank themselves, and with their systems, with what they can do with it. I mean, with how much power and analytics and algorithmic and AI activity that the big tech players have driving the analysis of data for just what they collect on their own platforms, never mind what other third parties would send them. It's mind-blowing.
So yeah, look, that was only quietly announced this week, so interesting to see where that one goes. Keep an eye on the progress on that.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool.
We'll wrap it there.
Pleasure, as always. Short and sweet.
Absolutely. No, yes, short and sweet this week. And we'll have more coming next week. And get as close back to a regular schedule as we can with so much going on right now, right?
That's it. Take it easy, buddy.
See ya. That does it for this week, folks. And you can learn more about the stories we covered in the show notes on our website, moneyneversleeps.ie. So check us out online and subscribe to our Money Never Sleeps newsletter as well. Also, thanks to Conan Brophy from Great Sound for mixing and editing this episode. Conan is an excellent media man to get in touch with when you're thinking about launching your own podcast. As for me, I'm an early stage startup investor and advisor focused on where fintech meets crypto and crypto meets Web3. If you'd like to talk to me about your business, drop me a line on info@moneyneversleeps.ie. Finally, till next time, thanks for listening. See ya!